forgot to unmute myself. There I am. All right, so anyway, hello and welcome to the Applied Digital Studies live stream for Section 1. I don't know why that was muted.
Hello,
I didn't
and welcome
mute that.
to the Applied Digital.
Also, I don't know why the desktop audio was... anyway, all right. Let me know if it sounds okay. It looks okay now, but it was kind of weird for a minute there in terms of what I was seeing in the audio mixer. One of the things I'm doing differently, actually, is I found this option in OBS, which is the software I use to stream for captions, to do automatic captions, and I turned it on. I don't know if it's working or not. Oh, I know why you were hearing it twice. It was because it was coming through. That's why. Okay, sorry. It was coming through my Twitch, my browser window on Twitch, but I muted that one now, so that shouldn't come through twice. Okay. Anyway, can you all hear me? Okay? Is everything sounding and looking okay-ish? Good enough? Let me know. This is the normal setup, so you've got your Discord messages will appear above me. So please let me know if that's working okay. Also, okay, cool. Thanks, Grant. This is going on Twitch and on YouTube at the same time. Whichever you need to watch it with is fine. Hopefully, at least one of those works well for you and looks okay for you. I suppose, come to think of it, I bet I can turn on automatic captions in YouTube on that stream. I don't know if I did, though. Let me just check something. Nope, not that browser. Not that one. Okay, well, I use Restream to stream twice to two different services at the same time, and I wonder if there's a way. No, I guess I can't make a change from this side. Okay, I'll have to check that out later. Yeah, let me know if you see captions pop up anywhere, or if I think if you're watching on, at least on Windows, if you're watching Twitch on Windows using the either the Twitch app, I guess, or the web browser, you should see like the gear icon in the bottom right, and there should be an option to or there may be an option to do something with closed captions, or you might see the captions button. I see it actually. There is a closed captions button. It's just the CC, and so if you click that open, it should display them. Huh. Yeah, they don't look very good. I see Creative Sparks 24 on the Twitch thing. Yeah, they're not very good. Yeah, it's just using the built. So this is on Windows, and it's just using the built-in Microsoft text-to-speech, which is not like the one on Zoom. I mean, that is not even close. Like the one on Zoom, which I've been using, is better. I mean, I thought it was not perfect, but surprisingly good. And this, by comparison, is not very good. Just kind of looking at it. So yeah, I'm going to turn it off for me. But since you can turn it on or off yourself, I'll leave that up to you. If you want to leave it on, you're welcome to. But I'm not going to look at them, and they're probably not very good. So anyway, I hope you're all doing well. It's Monday, and we have pretty much wrapped up talking about artificial intelligence, although it will continue to come up. This module is actually a bit more historical, so it's going to take us into the past a little bit. And really all I want to do today is go through some of the things that I'm going to ask you to be doing during this module, introduce some of these ideas. I can also go over the last code practice notebook if you would like, if anyone would like me to, but I'm going to save that until the end in case I have extra time to work with, because I want to get to some other stuff first to make sure I get it introduced. And then we can go from there. So I just noticed, by the way, sorry I keep messing with these things, that my browser is too big. So you can't see all of it. You can't see everything that I can see. I don't know how that got changed in OBS. I didn't change it out here. I've been telling you all about my fishing attempt. We went fishing. We went fishing again over the weekend, and still no luck. We went to a pond, and it's a pond on the Nye River Trail, which is down in Spotsylvania. It's a little trail that I've been on before, and there's a pond there. And someone told us that they caught a bunch of fish there last year, but that person couldn't remember what time of year they went or what kind of bait they were using. So we went and checked it out. It's a okay little pond, but it's a little pond, and I don't think there would be fish in it unless they were put there, like if it were stocked. Just based on looking at the size and layout of the pond, it just doesn't look very big. So I'm not sure how they caught those fish, but they did, but we didn't. We didn't catch anything. Did not see any signs of fish in it. So still really struggling, but not giving up yet. All right, let's talk about connections. So this is what we're talking about this module. Actually, a couple of ideas, but built into this module. But the main one is to think about the ways in which the internet connects us and connects us to each other, but also connects things to the internet. And there's this is the kind of thing that's I think really interesting to talk about, because the ways in which we connect, of course, have become all more much more visible as we've been distanced physically. So we've been paying attention to, we spent about the past year really paying attention to the ways in which we connect to each other online, really kind of growing sick of those ways in some cases perhaps. But I think it's important to think about and understand that this is something that we've been doing, and that we've had a track record with, and the ways that we understand these things have evolved over time in specific directions because of design decisions made by specific people. And so I want to talk about some of those things, some of those specific people over the next couple weeks. For this module, I really want to get it done in 2 weeks, as opposed to the last one, which ended up, because of the schedule with the breaks, ended up a bit longer than I had intended for it to be. So I want to try to get this one done so that you all can focus on your big projects. In this case, there is going to be one code thing with this, but only one, and I'll show you that shortly. All right, so this is, I'm looking at the module page. If you go to the modules screen in Canvas, you should see this come up now as the top module. And when I published it this morning, you probably got a notification. Hopefully you've got your notifications set up in Canvas so you can see these things when they get published. And you can go ahead and look through it all. It's all here. Things are a little bit sketchier towards the end, but that's mainly because at that point you're going to be doing you're going to be doing your work, and we'll be spending most of the time during a class session working on your retro homepage project, which is going to be your code project for this node. So in terms of lecture type content, there's a lot, some today and some tomorrow on Wednesday, and then things kind of die down from there. But this is where we begin. I have actually several things on here for homework to try to do by Wednesday. I really don't know if I can expect you to do all of these things, so I would say pick 2 or 3, just to have some kind of something here. For any 2 or 3 of these is fine. And I'll show you what these all are in a minute, but when I say explore further, those are the things that I want you to do. I say 1 or 2 right here. I'm gonna upgrade that to say 2 or 3, just because I added an extra option. After I wrote 1 or 2, I added something else. So let me just go ahead and upgrade that. Okay, so yeah, I'll come back to this in a minute, but let me show you, go forward into the module and show you what else is coming up. So on Wednesday, we'll talk through some things, and basically I have what I've already written out here are essentially lecture notes. So the kinds of things that I could lecture about, or I might, are here for you to go ahead and start looking at, including several links to things. Some of you in my electronic literature class should recognize some of these references. But as you go through it, you'll see different things that you can interact with and do. But I'll be talking through these things, and really this is guiding my lecture notes for Wednesday. The thing that we're building up to is understanding and working with hypertext in the context of the web. And that's the kind of thing that is both like universal and ubiquitous and inherent to your experience of the web. I mean, you're using hypertext right now. But it is also kind of this strange thing that if you've never done it before, and it comes from a specific lineage technologically, and it can be hard and counterintuitive when you're trying to write hypertext code by yourself. So that's the challenge that I'm going to be putting before you in this node, to see if you can figure that out and figure out how to create a hypertext document. So yeah, then things continue really on Fridays, when we'll get to the series coding stuff, but I'll show you some of the basics today. And oh yeah, the other thing that I'm trying to build into this node, and this is a bit of a stretch, but I like it, I like stretches, is to discuss not just the web, which lives on the internet, but other things that live on the internet as well. And one of the things I hope you take away from this discussion is that when we talk about the World Wide Web and we talk about the internet, we're not necessarily talking about the same thing. The World Wide Web is a thing that lives on top of the internet, but there are lots of other things that live on top of the internet, like email, like IRC, like Bitstream, like live streaming video like this. There's all kinds of things that are are not the web, but that use the internet as well. So the two terms are sometimes conflated, but they're not actually the same thing. And so I also want to talk about the Internet of Things and how technology is connecting different physical objects to the internet in ways that are sometimes kind of weird. So I want to talk about that, and there's some fiction that we'll read to help us think about those ideas and think about some of that weirdness. Yeah, and then like I have written out here, the idea is to start working on your own web page. Okay, so this is all kind of looking ahead and forecasting. Let me rewind a bit and show you how we're going to get started. All right. So hope everybody's doing okay out there. Gotta go all the way back to the beginning. Yeah. Thanks. Okay. All right. So thinking about the web and thinking about how we're connected. That's what we're doing today. Oh yeah, and then Node 2 should be done too. All right, so in the olden times, I'm going to refer to things as the olden times because I think it's funny to think about the web and things as happening in the late 1900s because that's, I mean, I was around then. I was doing these things in the late 1900s. But thinking all the way back to the last century, there's lots of ways you might have been online and you might have been connected. In my personal experience, my first experience of being online that I recall really vividly, and I'm pretty sure this was a very early experience, was in an AOL chat room, an America Online chat room. And I was fascinated by the idea that I could type something on my screen, hit enter, and then someone else could see it instantly. And at the same time, they could type something and then I could see it instantly. And so our screens were like connected in this magical way. And it really was like a magical moment. So I was in, I guess, middle school when this happened for me, this revelation happened. And it was great, and it was exciting, and it was fun. And I would log into AOL, and I would find a chat room, and there would be chat rooms based on age groups and interests, and I would join one, and I would chat with random people, and I don't know, there's something really kind of utopian about it in some ways. That didn't last, and AOL chat rooms are no longer a thing, I don't think. But the things that we do now, like in Discord, are really pretty similar in some ways. And that's why I think Discord is kind of interesting as a space, is that it kind of gets us back to some of the earlier things that people used to do when they connected to each other online. So there are lots of other ways. And the two big ones that I want to talk about today are, well, I don't know if I can spend a ton of time on it, but I do want to show you Lambda Moo and also talk a bit about Geocities and show you some things that you can do to start exploring these things on your own. So let me first connect to Lambda Moo, and take me a second here. This is, yeah, let me actually just, I'm trying to log off of Lambda Moo so I can reconnect to show you how to connect, but I don't know how to log off. So I'm just going to kill that application and then start from scratch. Okay, so let's think about a different way of being online than what we're used to, right? I mean, we're used to being online through the lenses of all these different platforms, and it's really not that many different platforms. We have Facebook, we have, what else, right? I mean, we have Instagram, TikTok, I guess. I mean, that's it, right? So if you're thinking about being online, or Twitter, right? So if you're thinking about being online today, you're thinking of it through the lens of one of these big providers. And I think that's really sad. I think that's really disappointing. I think it's really, we've lost a lot of things that we used to really enjoy and value about the web in terms of finding things and connecting to new people. And I don't know, I'm being nostalgic about this. And I'm sure it never was really as great as I'm imagining it was. But just the sense of wonder and discovery and the chance of being surprised or horrified by something you found on the web are so much, it's just not there anymore. Everything is so polished and algorithmically leveled out, basically, that everything just sort of seems about the same to me. But back in the olden times, one of the ways that you could connect to people was through a system like a MUD or a Moo server. And I'm going to connect to a Moo server that's still running now. But these were a big deal back in the day. So these are systems of connecting through a terminal kind of system or a command line kind of system where you can interact with people. It's like a chat room, except that you can actually do stuff in it. So in other words, you can have objects and you can give other people objects and take objects. And some of them you can actually do combat kind of things. The one I'm going to connect to does not have combat in it, but it has people It also has, like I should say, pretty random kind of people. So I don't know what I'm going to see when I go in there, but we'll find out. Oh no, sorry, I pulled up the Twitch chat and Pikachu. Sorry, no, I did not use any bloodworms. I forgot to bring them, but I will try that. And yeah, Firecracker, definitely Twitter is another way that we see things. But another one of these feeds, right? We see things through these feeds, and these feeds have been balanced and optimized to extract our engagement from us. They're not really there to be interesting anymore. I don't know. But Lambda is an important social space. There were a number of early academic studies about being online that used Lambda as their primary research base. So Lambda is also significant because it's actually still running. Most of the Mu servers are not. But a Mu server is actually an interesting thing to make. I used to have one when I first started working at UMW. I created one for the UMW community, and it was interesting. Kind of hard to keep it running though, so I didn't. After a while, I just stopped. But yeah, well, you'll see how it works when I connect to it. Hopefully, this will look a little weird. So I'm kind of setting all this up to warn you about what's going to happen in here, because this is me connecting to anyone in there. I don't know what is going to happen. I don't know who's going to be there right now. Maybe nobody, but often when I connect, there's somebody there and they want to chat. So I will try to avoid that actually if I want to. But if you look at our notes for today, you can read some instructions for how to do this. I'm doing this on a Windows computer and it works fine. It's actually a little bit easier on a Mac. On a Mac, you don't have to install Telnet. I think it just works. Although, actually, come to think of it, you might need to install Homebrew if you're using a Mac for this. If you want to try this yourself, but I'm going to try this on Windows. Let's see if this works. Let me get my command line window, and if I can find the right. Hold on. Nope. Need to add the source correctly in OBS. Good. Why is it's not showing up as an option? Why is it not showing up? Hang on, that's odd. It's not letting me select it in. No. Huh. It's not letting me share the command prompt. Hang on a second. Let me try to figure this out. Oh, there it is. Now it's available. There it is. Man, okay. Goodness. Okay, so this is it. Let me zoom in a bit so you can actually see it. And I will take you on a journey into Lambda. Good enough. All right, so this is my command line. So if you've never been in your command line, by the way, this is pretty interesting. You can do various things in it. But what I'm going to do now is use something called Telnet. So what I had to do is, can I not clear in this? I'm used to a Linux command line, not a Windows command line. Apparently you don't have a clear command in Windows, which is annoying, but let's see, put that over slightly. All right, so what I have here with this is I can type commands and do different things. But the thing I'm going to do right now is Telnet. I'm going to use Telnet, and so I start off by typing the word Telnet, which invokes the Telnet service, and then I'm going to tell Telnet what to connect to. If you have a Windows computer, there's another program called Putty, which does this kind of thing and also can do SSH and a couple other things. That's actually safer than Telnet. It's because you can encrypt it, but this should be good enough for demo purposes. Actually, I can't seem to copy and paste in this, so I'm just going to type it out: lambda.mu.mud.org space 8888. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now I'm connected, and you can see the welcome message here. Let me make this a little wider so it prints better. And notice the thing I want you to notice about this is the utopian language, right? So there's a kind of techno-libertarianism, I guess, maybe is another way to think of it too. But this idea that this is a free space and this is a place where free speech is a big deal. And so that's where, in some cases, there have been some controversial and problematic issues around spaces like this. But currently the lag is low. There are 44. Okay, good. So to connect, I'm going to type connect guest because I just want to connect as a guest user. I'm agreeing to the terms, and here I am. So you can see where I am in this world right now, the coat closet. The closet is a dark, cramped space. It appears to be very crowded in here, and you keep bumping into what feels like coats, boots, and other people apparently sleeping. One useful thing that you've discovered in your bumbling about is a metal doorknob set at waist level into what might be a door. Next to it is a spring lever labeled quiet. There is new news. Type news to read all the news, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So if you were in my electronic literature class today, I introduced where we talked about interactive fiction. This is kind of like that. Some of the terms and the commands I'm about to use are similar to that. The big difference, though, is that for Lambda right now, if you connected to Lambda Move, you would see me in the closet. I'm not sure what my name is because I'm a guest, but you would see me in there and we could chat with each other. So it's an online system. So let's see. Just exit. Go out. What is the word? There we go. So I open the closet door and leave the darkness for the living room, closing the door behind you so as not to wake the sleeping people inside. So here I am in the living room, and you can see there's a description of the room I'm in. Whoops, I clicked on the wrong thing. Big description of the room I'm in, and then there's a welcome poster. There's a fireplace, a living room, couch, a statue, a map of Lambda House, lag meter, the birthday machine, helpful person finder, and a cockatoo. All right, so let me check out the welcome poster. Guest bread poster. I don't know what that is. Somebody wrote something weird on that poster. Okay, that's fine. Let's see. Can I type at exits? Okay. So can I go north? Yeah. So you can also explore just by typing compass directions. So I just type north, and I'm now in the entrance hall. But let's say I want to go back south, back to the living room. I can go back south and get back to the living room. So it's a coherent space that I can navigate, but there are people here as well. So Zayan and Sleeper and Slack are all here, but they're asleep, which means they haven't been active recently. But I could say hello to them, I guess. Hello. You say hello. Anyone here? And probably not. Maybe not. There are ways you can also announce to a larger area, so people that are online but not in the same room as you can hear it too. But I'm not going to do that. Okay, so now if any of you connect to Lambda at the same time, you could see me and you could chat with me. Not that you would need to necessarily, but this is one of the options for your homework. And so if you would like to do this, the instructions here are kind of out of date, but they may work. If you want to try it, I would recommend trying it, but then certainly feel free to check or ask for help in tech support. And the thing you can do here is like see what you can interact with. So let's see, let me examine the fireplace. Okay, so here's an old fireplace taken from an Irish castle, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I can light the fireplace. Let's see what happens if I light the fireplace. I need some wood first. Okay, so do I have any? I don't have any wood, so okay, I'm not sure how to get wood. Let's see where else I can go. South, I can't go to the south, so I can go to southeast. Good. So there's the deck. Oh, there's a Rube Goldberg contraption here. Let's examine that. It's an incredibly complicated contraption. There's a lever on one side, a sign on the other side says to run contraption, pull lever on contraption. To add parts, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let's pull lever on contraption. Guest pulls down the handle on Rube Goldberg contraption. The lever pulls on a string, releases a steel ball high up. Oh, cool, all this stuff is happening. All right. Yikes. Okay, so, interesting. So that's a object that I was able to interact with, and one of the things that distinguishes Lambda Move from other kinds of fully online things at the time, like a chat room, is that in a Lambda, in a Moo, you can create things. So a Moo is a version of a MUD. A MUD is a multi-user dungeon, and a Moo is a multi-user dungeon where it's object oriented, meaning that I can create objects in it. So as a guest, I can't, because I'm just logged in as a guest. I won't be able to. But in more, in general, like if I were a regular user, I could add objects. And so this object was created by just some random user, and they just left it here for anyone to interact with. All right, so this is, Lambda Moo was very popular in the 90s, and early 90s in particular. There was a really influential essay, article, I believe, published in the, was it The Atlantic? Or was it New Yorker? Anyway, it was in a big magazine by Julian DeBell, and he wrote an article about an experience in Lambda Moo, and it became really kind of notorious for this incident. And so some of the disclaimers and the legal stuff that you see when you first log into Lambda Moo are actually kind of responding to that. The article, which I'm not assigning to you all, is called "A Rape in Cyberspace." It's by Julian DeBell, and it's on the web. You can find it if you're interested in it. But it raises this question of, what does it mean it raises the question around cybersex and like interacting sexually through this kind of system, but adding this question of consent and what happens when participants in a virtual environment are involved in a sexual scenario that they didn't consent to, and what should we do about that? Like, it was raising this question that I think probably would occur to people now if they were designing a system. You would design it in a way that thing couldn't happen, but it did not occur to the people who designed Lambda Moo that would be a risk. And so when someone contrived a way so that within the context of Lambda Moo, they could essentially force other people's characters to interact sexually, that's a violation, and that was seen as a violation, and certainly is. So the article by Julian DeBell raises that question and discusses that event and talks about what happened to that person who did that. But really, it's a character. So the actual human behind it is, as far as I know, never been identified. But the character is actually still in Lambda Moo, but not active. So their account was disabled, but you can find them in here. So it's creepy and it's interesting. But all this is to say, Lambda Moo is one way to connect to people, and one kind of connection that used to be very common, and certainly has descendants now, different ways that we do similar things now with different tools. Let me make that a little bit smaller. I got a little carried away moving things around. Okay, so I'm going to hide that window and show you some other things to think about connections and other ways of connecting through the internet throughout history. So Geocities.com was a major place for having a website. So starting in the late 90s or mid 90s, I guess, if you wanted a website, Geocities and its competitors like AngelFire were a way to do that, and a way to kind of think about being online. And they really kind of pioneered or made good on the cliche of having a homepage on the internet. And we actually see evidence of that still, like in the web browser. Like you can see the web browser still has the button to go home, where it says, like, there's the home link there to go, like a picture of a little house to go to the home page. And so we think of now that your home page is the thing you start with, but like what your browser starts off when you open a new browser. But you could also think of a home page as like just the web page that you built about yourself. That's all the stuff you wanted to remember and have access to quickly and easily. And then you invite other people to your home as well. So you put that on a web page, and people can come to your home, and they can click on your links and see what you're interested in and listen to your music, whatever it is. So GeoCities was really built around that way of using the web, which we've definitely lost. Like, we no longer really think of the homepage as that kind of serving that kind of purpose. The homepage now, or the domain, is something that we use more in an outward-facing kind of way. But if you think of yourself as the original audience for it, then I guess you still could do things that way. Now, as GeoCities went down, GeoCities disappeared, and it was bought by Yahoo, and then Yahoo just turned it off, basically without a lot of warning. Yahoo does that. They will buy a service or a company and kill it, basically. So there's a whole backstory to that which you can learn about. But this is one of several different places where there's some version of it still persisting online. Geocities, I guess is how you pronounce that. Geocities, which is not connecting at the moment. but this is a copy of Geocities.com. So whenever you were a Geocities user, you could log into your space and you could add content, create your web page with all of your ugly animated GIFs and your MIDI music playing in the background, and other people could come visit your web page, and they could leave you comments on your web page. Well, actually, they couldn't leave comments unless you added a guest book, and then you could connect your site to WebRings. Okay, here we are finally. So this is how it would work. So GeoCities was organized as a series of neighborhoods, and so whenever you had a topic you wanted to make a web page about, or just you wanted to make one for yourself, you would locate your topic in a neighborhood of some sort. So let's just pick on one here. How about country music? So you notice that this one is called Nashville. So this is a GeoCities neighborhood called Nashville, which makes sense if you know about music. That's where the country music industry is based. And so if you wanted to make your webpage about your favorite country music artist, then this is where you would put it. Now there are terabytes of content here, so that partly is why it's taking a while to load. But and also this is not a pretty interface. This is just a dump of something. So who knows what's here? Let's find out. Let's pick on a random number, 9081. So this will be somebody's homepage that they originally uploaded to geocities.com, but that is now being hosted on uocities or ucities.org, and it's hard to say what we're going to get. So this is just the header. All right. Okay. So Homeboy Studios. Okay, this is very typical in a lot of ways, which is you've got the graphical background with the stars there. We've got an intro in the papyrus font. The Blessed with Good Looks Liam is not your typical type of idol singer with the ability to play 6 instruments, write songs, produce award-winning albums, and even show good prospects in acting. He is the all-rounder, perfect guy that any girl or woman would love. All right. And so this kind of welcome page is also very typical. This idea that like here's a splash page that kind of welcomes you to the website, and then you click another link to go into the actual website. That's pretty typical. So I've clicked enter. Let's enter Homeboy Studios and learn about this person. I don't know if they're a country music singer or not. Oh, wow, okay. Yeah, so there's quite a bit more here. So let's see if we can figure out how... All right, so this was last updated in the year 2000. So quite a while. And quite a lot of animated GIFs running around here. We've got the blinking welcome GIF. We've got this dancing cheerleader bear GIFs, this new thing. This thing's clicking and moving. Web pages used to move a lot. And so in terms of design patterns, they don't as much anymore. And so this is, again, very common for its area, very typical for the day. All right, so I got lucky with this one. I found a pretty good looking website in terms of like actually having a fair amount of content on it, it looks like, which is pretty cool. But definitely a throwback in terms of its aesthetics. All right, so a couple of other things that are interesting if you want to learn about this era, and this is what I would like for you to do. Explore some things using the Wayback Machine. So let's take a look at the Wayback Machine. Wayback Machine is an amazing resource. It is provided by the web, by the archive team, I guess, the Internet Archive. And this is a way of looking back at websites as they used to look. And so you can take a look at anything that they've got in here. Now, they don't have everything, and they can't go back in time and get something they don't currently have. So this is an incomplete archive, certainly, but it is pretty interesting to go back in time. So this is umw.edu, and when you look at it on the Wayback Machine, you can see the number of times it's been saved. And this being a pretty big website, there's a fair number of saves of the website or snapshots of it going back in time. So we can rewind all the way back to 2004 and see what this looked like. Let's pick a day like September 23rd, 2004. If you were browsing the web in 2004 in September and you went to umw.edu, you would see this. All right, so pretty different. And actually, interestingly, the main story it seems like they're talking about here is the name change, this is right when that happened. That's why umw.edu was a new website at the time. And this is as far back as we can go because it didn't exist before. Oh, we can do a virtual tour? Always love doing these kind of things. Let's see what campus looked like in 2004. Well, there's a Flash tour, so we can't do the Flash tour. But let's take a look at the HTML tour. Oh, it opened a new window. I'll put that window in this browser. Yeah, and it looks like a lot of the images are broken. Yeah, that's always the case with these snapshots, is they might be missing files, like external files, like media. So, it's always the case that your mileage will vary. All right, so we know umw.edu didn't exist until UMW existed, which is 2004, so we can actually go back even further and get a different sense of this if we go back into the previous name of this institution, which is MWC. So let's go back, actually, let me go back to the main. Let me start over again. And let's find out what we can about mwc.edu. So you see that mwc.edu has kind of the opposite lifespan. It's sort of, it ends around 2005. So let's go as far back as we can, actually. Let's go back to 1996. 1996, which is the beginning of the first big web boom when people were getting online and everybody had to have a website. So mwc.edu, October 18th, 1996. Here we go. A much more simple kind of website. You might say minimalist now if you made a website look like this. But, there's something I think actually kind of nice about this website. Like it just gets straight to the point and that's all there is on the website. There's really nothing else here. I actually really like this design a lot. Some of the images are broken, most of them are in fact, but this image does work. This image about student life. Let's see what's going on with student life back in 1996. All right, it's a list. It's a list of links. Let's see. Well, the Ecology Club has a web page. Let's see what they're doing. Or the SGA, the radio station. Let's check on the radio station. I think some of you might work on the radio station now. Oh wow, look at this. That's a really cool looking web page. This is really nice. They've actually done a nice job with this layout. Twisted as a pretzel. This is good. I mean, because this is actually fairly tasteful, but pretty different than the other web pages on this server. So that's interesting that it works that well. All right. Well, we can also let's see. We can go to people, and we can see that in fact they gave students web pages back in the 90s, and we can take a look at some of those if we click on this personal home pages. We also can look at the student directory. We don't publish that anymore. But yeah, we can go back and look at what some of these people were doing with their web pages. Let's see. I'm trying to think if I know anybody here. I mean, certainly the faculty. Some of these faculty are still here, but I don't know. Let's see what Eric Levy is. All right, cool. So Eric Levy apparently was into paintball and has a nice looking, has a cat page. Let's take a look at Eric's cat page, I guess. All right. And you see quite a few design tropes of the era, like the animated GIFs, of course, but also just the under construction, ubiquitous under construction GIF. Everything is always under construction. So. Cool. All right. So this is an early example of the webpage, and I encourage you for homework to explore this. Not necessarily Eric Levy's, but I would say go into the Wayback Machine and see what you can find on MWC. Okay. So the other things that you can do, two more things you can do for homework if you'd like, are to first of all, there is a film called The Social Dilemma. It's on Netflix. I have some issues with it. I should tell you, but I think it's good at introducing some things that you should be thinking about. It actually is more of a critique of contemporary social media than it is a reflection on older things like what I've just been talking about. But I think you'll see the differences, and I think it does have a lot of good information in there. I I will go ahead and tell you two things I really like about it. One thing I really like about it is the way that it talks about algorithms. So it kind of builds on stuff we've already talked about. It presents it in a fictional way. The thing I don't like about it is I don't really like the tone of it. I feel like it's really preachy, and even though the information is good, I think some of the messengers are kind of iffy in some cases. Like the things that they're critiquing about social media are things that people have been saying for years about social media, like things that I know now, but I used to kind of think everyone just knew because it's so obvious. But they talk about things like, advertisement and tracking information and designing for to kind of exploit people's addictions. And like I knew these things, and so I was like, okay, I don't, thanks for telling us these things. But the people telling you these things and explaining why these are problems are in many cases the people who designed these systems and now regret it. And I'm like, well, great, but what are you doing about it other than telling us that this is a problem that you caused, and like we're just suffering for it. So thanks. It just seems like there's a kind of a disconnect between some of the messengers. Not all of them. Some of them are great, but some of them it seems like they're still benefiting from these systems that they designed to exploit people. I'll just say it that way. But I think it's pretty good. I think you can definitely learn some things from it. So that's an option if you'd like. Of course, you need Netflix access to do that. You may not have that, but if you do, then that's certainly an option for homework as well. Okay, so with just a few minutes left in the time here, and the other thing, this is a great podcast episode from 99% Invisible, which is it's a good podcast anyway. Like I like listening to it sometimes, but this is a podcast episode about Geocities, and they talk about the whole history of the company and the design of the company and kind of what happened to it. And actually, like this is actually really great too, just like the web version of it that you can read because it has images. Yeah. There's a lot of Gillian Anderson content on Geocities. I just saw that. So anyway, either read this or listen to it, but it's another option for you to do. Okay, so this has kind of been a long introduction to your homework options, and so my hope is really that you'll explore these things and figure some of these things out on your own. On Wednesday, I'm going to lecture a bit on Wednesday. It'll be a Zoom meeting, like I say here, just because that's to keep the tradition. But I'm going to lecture a bit about hypertext and the actual technology of connecting computers to each other, because that's what you're doing when you build a web page. And ultimately, within this module, the thing you're going to be doing is building a web page. So whereas before I had you all doing things in Colab notebooks, writing Python, writing code that runs, for this one, you're going to be writing a web page, and my expectation is that you're going to do this the hard way. And I say the hard way, but it's really not that bad. The point is to make to write HTML code that produces a web page. And that's different than writing a blog in WordPress, right? So WordPress is going to write all the HTML for you if you do it that way. That's not the option here. I don't want you to do that for this little project. Instead, I want you to create your own web page using just HTML and CSS. Now, in order for it to really be on the web, you need a website. You need a domain. Some of you may not have your domains set up yet. I know some of you do, or you are recently figuring that out, and that's great. But if you do not currently have a domain, or if you have no idea what I'm talking about when I say a domain, then we need to talk. So we need to get you squared away with this. So UMW provides domains to students, umw.domains. This is actually very different than what I was showing you with the students' website, the wherever it is, Eric Levy's. This is a very different system that we have now, and this is a system that gives you your own entire web domain, not just a folder on a shared domain, umw.edu. This is your own domain, and so you need to be thoughtful about this process of signing up for it. But you will need to sign up for it in order to complete the project this week and next week. So if you don't already have one, please let me know. You can schedule a meeting with me to walk through how to set it up, or you can schedule a meeting with the Digital Knowledge Center if you're not, if you can't find a way to schedule with me. You can also go through the whole process by yourself if you want to. The instructions are here. But I really recommend finding someone to go through it with you so that in case you have questions, you can just go ahead and answer that question while you're in the middle of the process. It doesn't take very long, but there are a couple of really crucial steps that you need to be very thoughtful about. the main one is that when you sign up for a domain, you're picking a name for it. And so for me, like my main domain is zachwhalen.net. So you're picking something that has the equivalence of that in terms of priority. And I really do recommend using some version of your name as long as you don't mind your name being out there. If you would rather use a pseudonym or a screen name, that's all good too. But I really do recommend coming up with something that's your actual name. I don't recommend putting numbers in your domain name at all, if possible. I don't recommend putting any reference to UMW in your domain name at all. I think keeping it as simple as possible and as specific to you as possible is really the key. So if you have questions about that, if you have a domain name you want to run by me for advice or feedback, I'd be very happy to give you that feedback, because you can't go back. You cannot make this choice again. So if you make a choice and you don't like it, you're stuck. So make a good choice if you need to make one. All right, so signing up is pretty quick and easy. You don't have to go very much beyond that at all yet. If you'd rather wait on that part, that's totally fine. So that is going to be it for class today, although I see Isabella's question, so I'll answer your question, and then, but if anyone else has other questions, then let me know. But yeah, this will wrap it up for class. I will talk about the, I guess I can go through Colab practice, Code Practice 7, maybe a little bit on Wednesday if you're really interested. If you can't figure out, honestly, it's not the biggest deal in the world. So I'd almost rather just move on to what we're doing this week instead of focusing on that if you're still stuck on Code Practice 7. But if you have questions, I can answer them. Okay, so Isabella, I see your question on Twitch that you can't get Discord open, and I don't know how to help you with that. I mean, the standard things that I would do in that situation is like uninstall it and then reinstall it. Like delete it entirely from my computer and then get it again and see if that works. I have not had that specific issue with Discord though. Yeah, and that's the other standard advice from Pikachu's Heart, like rebooting your computer, like turn it off and back on again is often a thing that helps. But like a more extreme version of that is, like I was saying, uninstall it and then reinstall it. But yeah, that's... Yeah, the other thing you can do also is you can actually use Discord in the web browser. So if you, I don't know if I should do this in here or not, or it may not let me actually, but if you go to discord.com, you can actually, as it says here, you can open Discord in your browser, and then so just like Chrome, whatever your browser is, you would be looking at the same interface, but it would just be in a browser tab. And sometimes I've had issues with that. It doesn't totally work, or like it like won't let me do it in the browser if I've already set up the desktop clients. But so you may still have issues, but it's maybe another option to try if uninstalling and reinstalling it doesn't help. So I don't know. Well, okay, so I feel like today was kind of a rambly day of class, but hopefully I covered some things that were interesting. Again, we're going to keep looking at connections and thinking about how things connect and how we use the internet to connect over the next couple of weeks through several different examples and explorations. So start doing some of that exploring on your own. Be ready to talk about it on Wednesday over Zoom, and I will share some more thoughts, especially about hypertext, and show you some things there. Okay, so I will switch on the bird cam for a minute or two just to see, because I thought I saw something come by. Oh no, that's my wife. That's not a bird. She's getting some stuff out of the shed, so probably scaring the birds away. But I'll switch it over there anyway, just for the record. Cool, so hope you're all doing well. Hope you have a good afternoon, and I will see you later. Let me see, where's the bird cam? There it is.